So I'm just going to work down this notes page. I'm going to add in one other piece here. Wow. Whoa. There's a lot of things listed under campaigns. Yeah, campaign planning for sushi. That's the one. So if you open the notes page, there are a number of shout outs that are actually graphical this time. Some of the goofy videos that were made of my face being animated.
We like those.
We have PVM's articles plus soccer related posts, which was cool. Some swag. The integrations graphics, which is also cool, by JB Discord. And did you see this heart? This like drones dropping UMA tokens
Yeah.
image? I like
Yeah, I like it.
Cool. So opening discussion topics. We had an appeal process for Captain M to participate in UDAO, and I haven't checked the most recent vote, but it seemed to go okay. Does anyone have any comments on the kind of appeal process that they want to share? Just if you want to talk, just raise your hand, or if you're on stage, you can just talk.
Yeah, what do people think? I'm curious about this.
I'm just worried with how much, how active the community is to be able to do stuff like this.
Sorry, you're worried?
Yeah, because did we end up actually getting enough votes? I think we needed like 20 something, right?
So yeah, so it's interesting, right? Like I specified this condition, is that 50% of claimers had to participate in the appeal. And the last time I checked, we were at 17. I don't know where we're at now. If someone can let me know. And so yeah, like, what should a different threshold be? Do you think?
No, I like it. I mean, I think if you are receiving the UDAO tokens, like you should at least be active enough to simply vote. I mean, we're at 19 now, so maybe we got it. I'm just not. I don't know if we can lower the bar a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, well, so here's the other interesting thing is like of the, hold on, I'm looking at the claims list right now. Of the 44 people, there are like 10 that haven't claimed. So technically, based on right now, we've exceeded what we need to, based on that. But like, there's someone on this call who hasn't claimed, for example. So it's like clearly they intend to, they just haven't done that part yet. But I think we can get away with granting the appeal on that somewhat technicality by including the people who haven't claimed yet or discluding them from the total count. Is there any objection to that? No objection. Very good. Cool. So I think we'll probably go with that. Yeah. But overall, like, I think it was cool. I appreciate the people that participated, and I think the appeal was like a good one. You know, I think it was exactly what I was envisioning. So next point here actually is Hitton on this call. Look down the list here. I don't know what time it is. I don't see him on here. So he changed the SuperUMAN roles. The original role was deleted. Now it's plural, and we have the recruits now. And so recruits are people who weren't included in that initial UDAO drop, but need to have some sort of flow to kind of get onboarded. And so I think we're starting to develop what that flow looks like. Now I included a link in the Notion just now of an article about Index Co-op, which you guys will recall we did campaign to them last quarter. And they have a really good process with new people. Basically, they have like a slide deck. Or first you sign up. They send you an informational like quiz, or sorry, not a quiz. They just gather information about you, and then they have like occasional orientation calls where you, like, I think a team member helps walk them through it, and they show some slides and they do a quiz, and they just have like an interesting process. And so I think it's worth us looking into that and kind of getting some inspiration from that design. Just throwing it out there, though. The link's in the page. Yeah. The university students completed units 4 and 5, which is part 1, which is awesome. Does anyone want to, who here has participated in the last week's university call? You can just raise your hand in the group.
I took place in the call last week.
Yeah. Can you give us like a little update on it? How'd it go?
It was good. We had we had about 5 to 10 people. Dead Coin, go ahead if you want to add to that.
Yeah, there wasn't that many people that were stuck in there, that stuck around. But I mean, we had a great discussion. We're almost done, so we're kind of going to speed up and get through there. And then I think Hinton was going to speak to you about what class we should take next. We were thinking about doing something more along the lines of crypto, and that way people, the new recruits, could jump in and learn a little bit and get the hang of things. Get us going.
Yeah, I would be curious to hear like what process you guys want for selecting the next course too. Obviously it would be a community effort.
Yeah, I thought it'd be good if we could do something, because the options are kind of difficult to understand for everybody. So if we could do something along those lines, if we could find a class for options, it would be good.
Yeah, I mean, there is the other one that I really like is an MIT finance course, which covers options. But I wouldn't assume that that's the one you guys want to do. But yeah, I'm sure Hinton would have some good guidance on it. Do some research or something too.
We should get Clayton. We should get like the UMA team involved in these too.
I agree.
Like,
what do you picture?
Well, because like I would like to do these classes. These sound great.
Oh, you want to take the class?
Yeah, I want to take the class, but yeah, so yet another thing to do though. But I would like to take the class. These sound really really awesome. I mean, I know a lot about, or I know something about options, but taking an options class would be cool, or taking some of these crypto classes would be fun.
Of course. So
we should invite the rest of the UMA team to join these too.
What's up, Mo? I saw you on mute.
Hey everyone, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Hi, just a quick question about the university so forum. Are these sessions per the modules that are on the online courses, or are you talking about the internal teaching that you have for so for example, Kevin, he does some classes where he's led the team and showed cool principles being taught on a whiteboard. Is that the same thing, or is these different things I'm confusing together?
They are different things. The one is like the online course hosted by a different platform that we're referring to, separate from the internal learning sessions.
Okay. And they're the ones that you're reimbursing, or Risk Labs is. The second one, is the internal one where the teaching happens with Kevin et al. Is that open to any of us for us to join, just to listen in on, or recordings being done where we can watch them at a later date? Because I thought that was pretty cool as well.
Yeah, they are being recorded and shared. We haven't tried to do any kind of public live stream with them before.
Which could be cool.
Okay.
That could be cool to try.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Clayton, real quick. Surf Tranquil didn't know there were PO-up for today's call, guys.
Perfect.
So just message the PO-up bot. The passcode is I feel good, all together, no spaces, with the capital I, and then the rest is lowercase. Sorry to cut it.
Okay, so just for anyone who's new, I'm going to click on the layer. I see the POAP bot listed on the right under SuperBot. Click on his name, and then I'm going to type in I feel good. Enter. And there we go. Dear fellow SuperUMAN, thank you for attending today's call. Here's how you claim your POAP.
That is very cool.
Thank you for that.
Very, very cool.
That is very cool and easy and gratifying. Okay. And don't tell anyone who's not on this call. Cool. So next bullet point here. Hitten was looking for what to call new SuperUMANs. Started with baby umans, but we've changed that to recruits, which I think was right. The Bankless and Uma call was a success. I really enjoyed that. The first half, it was kind of cool. The first half of it was like Q&A about each DAO, but then the second half turned into like much more of a panel style discussion about the future of DAOs and about DAO to DAO relationships, which I thought was cool. Does anyone want to add anything about that call or have any comments? We have this possibility of like when we should do another one. I'm kind of curious, like not only when should we do another one, but what should our relationship to Bankless be? I don't know if anyone has any thoughts straight away about what that looks like.
Well, Coach and I talked a little bit, and he was just saying how it'd be really cool just to maybe send a couple of SuperUMANs over to Bankless to kind of help out with stuff and learn about Bankless, and they would do the same for the SuperUMANs. Maybe as a starting point, I guess.
Yeah.
Kind of like an exchange student program. It sounds pretty cool, actually. I really enjoyed the conversation that we had with the Bankless guys. I thought that was great. They shared a lot of really interesting views that that like things that I hadn't considered before. So I think that maybe it should be something we consider doing possibly every other week. I do like the idea of like maybe having a couple different people from both communities like participate, in the others community, and maybe we can kind of have like a little pilot program there and see how that goes. But yeah, I really enjoyed talking to the Bankless guys. Their views on like where DAOs are headed is really interesting to me. So I'm all for pushing like some kind of a cooperative relationship with them.
Yeah, Boopster and Fruity, I agree. I think a lot of what we're saying, we actually kind of talked a little bit about like the potential synergy or DAO to DAO relationship type stuff. We don't need to over formalize it, but I imagine without the desire for any SuperUMANs to leave, that there's folks from both DAOs that would be interested in being involved with each other. And I know in conversations, whether it was like roles or campaigns or working with others, like I'm kind of imagining a little bit of like a DAO exchange program, what you guys called out, right? We could pilot it, take lessons learned from both sides, hope we have opportunities to improve. And then out of that, we could also have some kind of collaborative synergy, right? A lot of what Bankless's focuses on is education, some of the communication and marketing guild stuff that they were talking about. And I feel like there could be potential benefits to UMA and the SuperUMANs of using some of that. I'm sure we have plenty of value add assets from the SuperUMAN side as well. So kind of that could evolve or change, but I agree, I guess, thinking it could be a really cool collaborative relationship.
How, to put it very plainly, how could that relationship lead to us getting integrations?
Yeah, so I think Clayton, where my mind goes is like documentation, video, writing, marketing, right? I guess I don't know how strong their guild is there, for example. And I've just been overly impressed with the SuperUMAN community. I think Dead Coin Surf, JB, a few others recently who have done so much on like the visual side. I think there's opportunity a little bit more on the written side. I think PV, Mikale, or whoever it is, has some awesome articles, and we saw like Eric Bow's infographic. And so I think from an education and documentation standpoint for things like rage tokens or KPI options, there's opportunity there that could be benefit to us.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Yeah, I was trying to think about like obviously they have a relationship to a bunch of different DAOs themselves, plus a network. They're a media sort of DAO, I think. So yeah, I would say there's got to be angles in that regard.
So
Yeah, kind of leveraging the network as well.
So to my knowledge, they recently launched their own job bulletin board. So the bankers have a list of jobs on there right now, and from the call last time, the idea that they're having is essentially that they're going to be a DAO that focuses on marketing and utilizes all the other DAOs and posts up jobs so other skills can come on board and complete those jobs. From Tommy's point of view, when he said what mini objectives can we put, I thought that was interesting in the sense that I went away and I was thinking that would there be a way for us to write contracts when there's disputes for, say, for example, parties that do the jobs and there's a dispute between the DAOs and the whoever's completed the task, and UMA comes in and clears that dispute? Is that something that we can do, or am I being overly ambitious?
Both. That is something we can do, and you're being overly ambitious. However,
That's exactly right.
however, it's actually kind of funny that you mentioned that, because we had sort of a conversation about building our own grants program in a way that's quite similar to that today. So I would say that that sort of thing is, yeah, I would say it's bubbling up at the moment.
Not the same exact idea, Momomo, but like Clayton, to your point on leveraging the network, and if they're focused on marketing, like the KPI options seem like a good fit too, right? Like community incentivization, if someone wanted to launch KPI option campaigns that coincided with marketing efforts, I could see that as very like providing a lot of synergy on both sides of the equation.
Definitely. Yeah. I like all of that. So I think like we can generally agree. Sorry, I just put a piece of caramel in my mouth, which is like a stupid idea when you're on a call.
We're leading a call. Yeah.
Yeah.
You think you'd be experienced at this?
I don't learn. Sorry. So yeah, I think we can all basically agree that there's something there and we should keep chipping away at it. Yeah, so that's awesome. So who wants to kind of like, I know that a couple of you have been talking to Coach in particular, who wants to kind of take point on like making the plan for the next call, or I guess the other ingredient here is that Vari is still doing the quizzes with their community. They're going to have like, I think 2 more quizzes. As far as I know, there haven't been any more yet. At which point we would like distribute the UDAO and things like that. But does someone here kind of want to own that next step, or that relationship? Soft own, not a huge crazy commitment.
Yeah, if it's just like setting up the call and keeping in contact with them, I mean, I can definitely help out with that.
Awesome, thanks, Pretty. That's yeah, that's huge, and but also yeah, it's just this. Basically, the way I describe it is making sure that we don't forget about this. Basically, is the extent of it. So that's awesome. Thanks.
Don't we have a call on Friday?
I don't know. Do we have a call?
Yeah, I think Coach and forget the other guy's name. I could go in the channel and look it up. They have a call specific to their health app. I was talking with them a little bit about, but it's less focused on the collaborative relationship between Nicholas and Uma and kind of general stuff. Brendan Hodge is his name. So for those maybe that missed it during the call, I think we were talking a little bit about real world use cases of potentially what UMA could do, and Brendan and Coach talked through some of the folks in the Bankless community are working on like a healthcare app with blockchain based data for medical records. Some of my interest is on the medical side, and I have some professional experience there as well. And so I was talking with them about potential input or help I could provide, but I think would welcome other involvement there too, but probably less focused on some of the overall goals.
Right. Cool. Thanks. Okay, that sounds good. So that these are the opening discussion topics that are on the page. Is there anything that anyone wants to add or introduce?
I don't have strong feelings about it, but I have a posed question to the group. And Clayton, maybe I'll look for others' response first, but definitely want your input too. I think as we've kind of grown, we've kind of talked about the concept of targeting DAOs, and I think in some ways the SuperUMANs focus, or function a little bit as a DAO, right? We don't do like formal voting and stuff, but it's very much this social community. And there was a couple of things that came up recently that I don't think were particularly bad, but I think were the nature of us being kind of, I'll call, controlled centrally from like a Discord admin perspective. And so I think it's important for communities to throw it out there for how people are feeling or um, thoughts on changes, right? So don't want to bring up any mud, I guess, but we know we had a particular community member in Hags, and I think appreciated your perspective there, and then a really well intended and I think positive change on some of the role updates. But it got me thinking when we started talking about the DAO like voting for the UDAO appeals, if or how people feel about it, and if we should think about implementing some kind of change or structure there, I guess. So I particularly don't have like strong personal feelings around it, but wanted to get thoughts from the call.
I just wanted to jump in real quick because I kind of like that thought, EA, and maybe we can use Snapshot for something like that and use UDAO for the Snapshot token, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I would be interested in like the general concept. I agree from like the mechanics perspective, Poopster. I think like what comes to mind for me is obviously some of the you lose at some point an ability to be super efficient, right? You have to potentially take more votes and things like that, and would maybe start with some criteria for what requires or what we'd want to put that structure around. But just thought, given the size and kind of the evolution, it's worth seeing if there would be enough involvement or engagement or interest in doing that. And I guess, to the centralization point, Clayton, I'd be interested in your thoughts if you had specific direction or if you'd be open to that or, yeah, so.
I want all of the power. You guys can vote. You guys can vote, but only if you vote for the things that I want to see happen. Yeah, I'm in support of that for sure. And yeah, it's just that balance, like you said, EA, about like the big trade-off in with decentralization, of course, is speed or and just time. But I don't imagine that we would send like very trivial things to votes, for example. It's
Yeah,
pretty
agreed.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool to me. I didn't really think about UDAO on Snapshot, but it's pretty cool. It's a pretty neat little artifact of giving of the fact that KPI options work like this. In fact, to me, it actually is kind of a value add to KPI options. It allows you to create like a bounded DAO kind of situation, right? Like it's a 3-month program for each one.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe this is like a small selling point we could use going forward as well, just for DAO type stuff. I don't know, but I just kind of like the idea of having only UDAO holders being able to vote on it.
Sure.
I guess I'd throw out there, do people care enough, right? Like, I think another potential barrier, or maybe it's not even a barrier, but like it's kind of centralized if we don't have enough opinions or engagement on the efforts anyway. And I think one thing we've seen with a couple like, I don't know, polls or non-high priority things is like we don't see that much engagement. And so maybe it's not a problem at all and people think it's fine. I think I'm erring on the side of being like potentially overly sensitive to thoughts and emotions with it. But if people do care, I think it would be easy to do and a potentially good thing to do as well.
Yeah, the way that I would see that is we want people to basically believe that there is a way to appeal or to dispute. And so like as long as there's basically an escalation process where it's like this is what's going to happen if it's just a centralized decision, but if people care, if enough people care, then we'll take it to a vote, that kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I like that too, guys. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's okay.
No, I was
I
just
was
gonna
gonna
say.
say,
Go ahead.
Bits and brews,
All right.
it's you.
Bits and brews, all you.
I think if we're having like if we're consistently getting low participation on some of like those opinion polls and everything, sometimes stuff just gets lost in Discord. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff happening. I'm in a lot of servers for other projects. it's just it's hard to keep track of these things. So maybe like if we're not getting votes on a poll, maybe just continually ping people, as annoying as that is, to draw attention to it.
That's an option.
I agree. I needed a ping for the last one because I missed it. I'm all for that.
Yeah, I mean, attention is hard, right? Attention is hard to get and keep, and but I think I do generally like this approach too of like not worrying about decentralizing things too much if things seem uncontroversial. Like if nobody's really like objecting, we don't need to spend too much energy voting on things. But I think it's important for our whole community to have the to legitimately have the opportunity to express dissent and disagreement, and have there be a process when that does happen for us to resolve that. And so far, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's been a problem. Has there, Clayton?
Well, the reason we're having this conversation is because there was some upsetness about, something that was basically a centralized movement. Nothing that's, I don't know. It's worth addressing. It's like that there was no recourse.
I think.
And I think
Sorry, just real quick though. I mean, I've been a little bit vocal about the situation. Obviously, like, I really like the guy, and as for campaigns and integrations, I mean, he's a monster. I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, this guy was everywhere, hands in pretty much every DAO or whatever. So I think there's a lot of stuff that happened in the background, and obviously, like, the way things went down, I mean, no one should act that way, especially in Discord. You know what I'm saying? If you're frustrated, take that to DMs or whatever. But a part of me feels like, was the punishment, does the punishment fit the crime kind of thing? And I felt like there was not really a say. But like I said, there's just a lot of stuff that we didn't see as well. So maybe that had a part in all of it.
I was just going to add, I think the one specific example, I know we're talking about like the hag stuff. The other thing that came to mind for me, it was like the role change stuff, right? Like I know there's a lot of people who had been here. I know some people who had been more vocal on Discord. I get the rationale for the role changes, but I personally, and no hard feelings from my perspective, but I wish we would have had a little more discussion before moving forward. I think last time we had the discussion about it, there was conversation of like, does it warrant Discord participation to be a SuperUMAN? And some of the people add value on probably a bad example of like UMIP review or other things like that. But I think that some of those like more wide impacting type things also come to mind as a potential use case for something like this in my mind. So not to disrupt from the specific example, Fruity, but more so providing kind of a broader perspective into what I think like these voting functions could be used for as well.
Yeah, I like that. I like the idea of like starting to get a little bit more processed around decisions and when they're approved. And so we could, and the escalation could be something as simple as, an emoji vote in Discord. And then if there's some like process where that seems to be failing us potentially, then it could go to a snapshot. But even just like, finding that sweet spot.
I mean, as someone who's not active on Discord, my perspective is that you usually see some votes, and if it's been a couple of hours, I don't vote. If I agree with the general decision, I just let it go. If there's like a formal escalation process or formal voting process, I'm sure more of us will be more active.
So you're saying that like if Angry Deer, you're saying, sorry, Dick, that like if you believed that, if the voting was regular and like important, you would be more active.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you agree with the general like direction of the vote and the people involved, you just let it go and don't take as much time to screen it over. But if it's like a formal process and my contribution is directly affecting the vote, I'm definitely gonna like be more active.
Sure. Deadcoin?
Yeah, I agree. I think there should be a way to vote on certain issues. Yeah, like they were saying, as long as it doesn't take enough time or as much time on the small stuff. And it is hard to find. Like I find myself, if I have to go through every channel every day, to see what was talked about, that's time consuming. It takes a while. So I can see how people could miss stuff because I missed a couple polls, just not going to every single, channel. And yeah, it would be great too to vote if somebody was out. Also, since I'm banned from like five different Discord servers for some reason.
Yeah, that is weird. Oh, actually, I requested for you to be unbanned and add in sushis, and admin replied, "Try now." So you might be okay now.
You are the man. Thank you. Yeah, I don't understand. It's not like I go around saying, disrespectful things. So I was like, what? Because Zapify also, I was banned from. Because when I tried to jump in for last time everybody went there, I was like, what? I haven't even been here in like a month. So
that's funny.
Sometimes they retroactively add like validation steps or whatever. So if your account if you hadn't done those like verification or validation steps for their server, then it kind of kicked you out. So it might have just been something like that.
Awesome. Well, this has been a good chat about these topics. I do feel like we're covered it well. Real quick though, I just want to say that like this is the first time we've done this stage format. I'm really loving it for this call. But I just want to say that like I've been inviting people on kind of randomly on stage, people that I recognize and usually talk kind of thing. But please, if you have anything to say that you want to share, I can just invite you on stage. It's no big deal.
Clayton, I'm a little bit worried that the stage format like maybe discourages people who don't speak from so often from jumping in. But I don't know. That's what we got to do. Make sure that the other people.
Yeah. Oddly, it seems to be, for me, it feels like a lot. It feels like the people that are on stage feel more invited to talk than normal. So like, I think you're right, Hart. Probably like someone might not raise their hand, but it's feeling a lot easier for me right now, like more casual. And,
good. Yeah. I think we should just make a habit if we do this of like, every 10 minutes consciously being like, hey, other people,
sure,
come talk, what you're doing.
I think I'll also just like tap some people right now, just invite them to speak. I'll make some of it opt in and not some of it opt out. Cool. So thank you for raising that point, EA. I'm not really sure if there's like an action point to take away from this, but well, I mean, there could be action points to take away from it. We haven't identified any yet, though.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if I feel particularly strong about it. I feel particularly strong about keeping the community tightly together and feeling good about the process stuff. So that was kind of the intent or spirit behind it. But if no one wants to like take a pass at maybe adding specific criteria for something that could be a vote, I feel like if there are large like personnel type issues, Clayton, or if we have large like changes, maybe we just start with a couple simple votes in the future and see how it goes. No reason to like over structure it from the start, in my opinion.
I agree. I basically this might be no. I mean, I think we have a really good temperature check of where people stand on it, and so when there's something to work on, like make a decision on, we can use it, and be more processed about it. Cool. Snake Poison, did you have something to add?
Yeah. Hey, so I was actually just participating as a hacker in the Hack Money hackathon, and we actually won one of the UMA prizes. So I'm very thankful for UMA for that and for being a sponsor for the event. But I just kind of want to give my perspective as someone that's been active in the community, pretty active in terms of I don't write a lot, but I listen in, and I've even submitted a UMIP and I wasn't included in this list of active participants in any sort of way. And I wanted to understand a little bit more about like what went into the decision as to who's getting included or who's even being represented or counted as being active if
Mhm.
they are doing things outside of Discord.
Sure. I would say that the answer is that the KPI options isn't meant to capture all of the active UMA community. It's basically specifically the people who have banded together to like increase UMA adoption, like aside from other incentives. So yeah, and just outside of it. However, like I think you're right. Like the efforts you're doing support UMA, of course, and so like that's why we have yeah. I would say it's an imperfect net to catch everybody. We basically focused entirely on the group that were hustling in the SuperUMAN category over the last 3 months, um, and working on these campaigns together and just coordinating the adoption. Um, and then yeah, right now we're still sort of designing some of the like recruit to SuperUMAN process, like how you go from being new to having some UDAO tokens and to participating directly. So like I would love for you to continue to hang around with us, show up to calls and stuff, and like even help us shape that. Um, and yeah, I'm open to other inclusion criteria. This is kind of what we went with this time around.
Okay, and I totally did not mean that in any sort of way. Like I'm trying to complain as much as I'm just trying to understand what the superhuman moniker is supposed to mean and what that
Yeah.
community formation is supposed to be. Like, what are the guiding principles behind this? What are you getting behind that group? Because having the most vocal people be the leaders does not necessarily translate into like a great community, right? Like you do want people that are like well-rounded in different skills. And I think one of the biggest subsets that we have of like community members inside of the channel is like developers and people that are like playing around with like test nets and stuff like that, because those are the guys that then band together with other people and create some amazing integration that could be paired with some DAO. So I just want to make sure that we're doing things like that and kind of keeping it behind the support. And I mean, I think we have like a great thing going with like the dev support team, and I'm just glad that they all got included in that. So as far as like good criteria, I think that was great to have those guys included.
Yeah, Snake Poison. Some of my perspective, I completely agree with you. I think a couple other groups I'd say outside of like those that are consistently vocal have been what I'll call more of like the superhuman content creators, whether it's like people who don't speak up but provide like the awesome popes or videos or articles or things like that. But I agree with you. I think defining more of some of like the roles or value adds to the community would be helpful, and we should reward and incentivize those too, because they all are pieces of the puzzle in my mind. I think it goes a little bit back to some of the efforts around like role definition or even providing like particular bounties if there's a shortage of that talent or that desire within the community in my mind too. So I think we talked about it a little bit. I think what I would call, I think like interest or feedback on the general concept has been lukewarm in terms of the amount or like needed amount to bring it to life for the community. But would love to keep that as a focal point and continue to refine and iterate on it for us.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. Yeah, echo everything that's been said, and I just want to say, Snake Poison, that everything that you said, I totally agree with. Like you've done a lot of things there, and your feedback is like what you've just done there, giving us feedback. That's exactly what we need to try and shape things in the right direction. So if anyone's listening and they have any additional feedback like that, I'm always like saying this, like this is the one of the things about the UMA Discord. It's open to hearing feedback and continuously improving. So yeah, please continue. And I really like the idea of defining the what superhumans are and the criteria checklist to get into that role. So yeah, just wanted to say that.
Well, I certainly
Well,
appreciate it. Like it's important to like be heard, but I just want to make sure that like again, I normally wouldn't even ask to be up here and talk. I just wanted to be able to say that there are people that support this protocol to its core that don't necessarily check in every single day. But then when they have little spurts or weekends, they're dedicating quite a bit of time to, get this project out there because they really believe in the core values of the project itself. I believe the same thing can happen at an even smaller level with the SuperUMANs, but it also needs to have its core values and what kind of participation do you need from it, so that people don't feel like they contributed to something and then weren't recognized. And it doesn't matter if it's something that is a pointless, well, it's not as valueless at the moment, like the popes, or something that literally has value, like the UDAO tokens.
Yeah,
This,
I mean,
oh,
I
sorry.
absolutely agree with you. Sorry, and that's also why I threw the appeals process in there, which is a little bit formalized and everything else, but like basically, I certainly recognize that like Discord activity is not like actually a KPI that we want to necessarily target. It was like a proxy for it, but I think that there are other ways to contribute, and yeah, I just think it's an imperfect net, but in fact it's like one we shouldn't use again, right? Because it would start to be gameable or something. But yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I want to do more of that, and I think we should absolutely consider it, particularly with the onboarding recruits piece of the puzzle.
I just want to jump in real quick and say thanks for speaking up, and I appreciate your point of view because like a lot of us were unaware of this. So I hope that maybe that'll inspire some more people that maybe haven't done so much talking or interacting with the community, but have done some other things to maybe speak up as well, and maybe it'll help get some more people active. So thanks for I appreciate you bringing that up.
And just to add something, some point here, I think that's a common challenge across many protocols right now as DAOs are being born, and I've seen a lot of that as well in other protocols I'm involved with, where it's hard to recognize the people that are not vocal about their contributions, and that's why tools such as Coordinate are sort of getting created out of nowhere right now, and it's good that there's the same challenge, and the way some people are solving it is just letting people do a description of what they do actually, and sort of communicate that somewhere either in their profile or have a special page. We used to have that with SuperUMAN powers, where everybody would just state what their powers were and their contributions were. And maybe that way we can also reward some people that maybe are not as vocal but are doing a lot of work behind the shadows. So just a separate idea to add here.
Awesome. That's yeah, I think it's really good stuff. I'm gonna keep nudging us along. We're like in the last 15 minutes here. I do want to make sure that we talk a bit about the coming week and the campaigns and stuff. If you look at the campaigns page, there are like way too many items on this list for me to go through all of them. However, wow, there's like a lot of screenshots at the bottom of this I haven't even read through. Okay. So there's really maybe one core thing that I think that like SuperUMANs could focus on this week to like give us the best odds at kind of a home run, and that's the sushi proposal. Like if we bring that home, it's guaranteed to be over a $5 million integration, so it would sort of earn 3 points to UDAO, or equivalent of 1,800, well, based on $10 UMA, 180 UMA tokens, for each SuperUMAN that got that full payout amount. So yeah, it'd be pretty sizable, and also just be a great relationship for UMA as well. And I think it would be pretty amazing thing to land early on, so that other teams get interested. So all of that being said, I posted in the campaigns link the Twitter post, or sorry, the tweet I put up about the posts on their discourse. We know that 0x Maki is interested in range tokens, and at the moment, basically, like, there's always a lot going on. It's hard to always get noticed, but we're like pushing on all fronts right now. The team is as well, with our connections and stuff. And what we kind of need is like the SuperUMANs to show up on Twitter and on Discord, and make some noise, constructive noise, and try to get their community on board for it, really. So I wanted to ask people, like, basically, like, what do people think about doing a campaign this week? Um, do we want to coordinate? I know we made some relationships with Sushi. We went on stage in their community before. Do we want to try to arrange something like that, maybe? Curious what ideas people might have for how we could make that successful. And while people formulate their success plan, I'll remind everyone that just raise your hand if you have anything to say if you're in the audience. This is not a exclusive stage or anything, just managing.
Does Sushi in their Discord channel have any sort of channel for project ideas or the like that we should be mentioning this in? I know there's a forum post that you're trying to get traction on, but like, is that forum post somewhere on their Discord for other folks to see it?
I mean, guys, like, so when Maki did his first forum post introducing this idea, it's like, this is a big deal, right? He's talking about, or not the range token bit, but what he proposed was selling like the majority of their treasury to investors to raise money. So this is something that like isn't going to be a quick decision amongst the Sushi community. It's going to take some effort, and it's just a cool opportunity for us to get loud about range tokens as an alternative way to do this that we think better aligns with the incentives of what the Sushi DAO is trying to do. And so the way I'd look at it, guys, is like, this isn't going to be a quick decision. This is that Sushi's going to make, or I'd be very surprised if it was. But I think as we saw in Sushi's forum post, there was a lot of pushback from their community as to like why they were looking at selling to these investors tokens at such a discount. And I think it's really cool for us to talk to a very accomplished and competent DAO about this alternative and really try to educate them on the pros and cons of this. Kind of my take.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
I
makes
agree. I
sense.
thought that was very different, I think, than trying to sell some newer protocols on KPI options where it's like you get a little education, you get buy-in. I thought the forum post basically showed two big considerations, one of which was people, I'd say the opposite, like opposing viewpoint, wasn't as excited about the amount of the treasury. I think it was like more than 50% as a starting point. And even if we did something in the range of 20 to 30 million, which I think was an alternate proposal, would be, a huge, awesome experiment. And then the other big point or takeaway, I think, was rather than just giving institutional investors a deep discount, are there strategic value adds that could align with the growth or goals of Sushi in the future? So the way I was thinking about this was less of like a campaign where we go and I don't know, post in their server for 24 hours. I think it would be cool if we could get back on a community call and have someone like Chandler or Kevin or others, or some of the SuperUMANs too, support with here's how this came to life and here's some of the benefits. I think a couple people, someone replied, Poopster, to your post and basically was saying range tokens are great, but if we have a bull run, it will look like we sold. It was a really cheap sale. Like, well, the flip side of that is if we maintain some bearish market conditions for a while, you're also protecting against continued decline in their own native, token price as well. So I think there's lots of pieces like that from an educational front we can provide. That would be the angle. I think there's also a decent amount of support for that. So like in my mind, if we could find a middle ground of conceding to the maybe initially aggressive dollar amount, they can work on the strategic side of investors and we can help with the education on some of like the both pros as well as risk mitigation. I think, Hart, to your point on the price, they can really choose what they sell it at, right? So that piece is a little more negotiable in my mind, but maybe we do like a community call or offer some timing to do some education and then some follow up around some graphics, or I think someone proposed like a video, the overview or things like that, really to help educate them. The other factor here that I don't think we're talking maybe enough about, and I'm not knowledgeable enough, but my understanding is there's a lot of backdoor conversation strategy, whales, things like that that are really contribute to how a proposal gets passed on sushi. And I think that's something that would be good to have a little more insight into, to know if there are certain groups or people that may be worth some targeted outreach as well outside of the community in general.
Yeah, I'd actually add to that. So the process here, it's a process of education for both us educating sushi and also educating ourselves at even how we sell and present this. So, for example, I'll actually look to the person that responded to Poopster, but like this is a far better deal for the sushi DAO than just selling a whole bunch of tokens at a 30% discount today, where you are absolutely losing money if there's a bull run, And it's just, there's all this stuff about us understanding the features or explaining the features, the pros and cons of this structure relative to a straight token sale that I think will be really interesting to just discuss and educate both ways. And with regards to your point around backdoor conversations and how this all gets organized, like Maki does have a lot of pull within the sushi community. And that's obvious from the fact that he's already had conversations with 21 investors, many of which we know and all that, but he's already had a conversation with a number of investors about the strategic raise. And the fact is, like, this may very well kind of get pushed through on Sushi's side, but we have the opportunity to engage their community and just present an alternative and actually get a lot of eyes on it. And I think that's I honestly would say sure, yeah, the goal would be, of course, to try to get Sushi to do a range token. That is what I would like, for obvious reasons. But even just getting a lot of eyes, understanding the concept, and even us understanding how the pros and cons of this, there's a big win just in that too.
It's a really good point.
Thanks for clarifying.
I just want to I want to kind of piggyback off that. If I don't want to eat all the time up, but if you notice, there's been a lot of Uniswap governance type stuff in the news lately as well. So governance and DAOs are getting to be a big deal, and what these projects do with their treasuries, I don't think people realize the implications of how much money is involved and what's really going on. So I would encourage everybody to kind of just do like Hart says, we just need to get the word out there about what's going on and more, because when more people we need more people to realize what's happening. There's like Hart says, there's better ways. We feel like there's better ways that these treasury funds can be used instead of maybe just a bunch of VCs or whatever the options are. Anyway, but I feel like that getting eyes on this is very important, and it can help our cause quite a bit.
Yeah, actually, Poopster, I'll get involved and even just say what's the high level kind of really high level thesis here? The observation, right, is that these DAOs now have treasuries worth billions of dollars, all in their project token. And what UMA has the opportunity to do is we can take that project token and use it as collateral to create a synthetic token, a range token, a KPI option, whatever we want to call it, that does some useful thing. We're actually very well positioned to be this useful tool that allows a DAO to use their treasury in a productive way. And I think you're completely right, Poopster, that governance and DAO treasury management is in the news right now. It's kind of in the hype cycle, and we are just very well positioned to be in the middle of that conversation. And that really should be the goal. It's hey guys, we got all these tools. UMA has all these tools that can take your treasury and do useful things with it. Borrow against it, incentivize people, do smarter liquidity mining, da-da-da-da-da. That's a pretty cool place to be.
Hey Hart, quick question. I don't know if you'll be able to disclose this information or not, but internal conversations that you've had with Oxmaki et al., what are the biggest reservations that they've put forward for the range token? So if we know their biggest reservations, we can then address those questions and put it out in the form of infographics or just outline them in the forums themselves. But yeah, I just wanted to see if there was a list of reservations being put forward for implementation of range tokens.
No, that's Momomo, right? Yeah, I recognize your voice. Sorry. Yeah, Momomo. I don't. So I've talked with Mackie before, but I haven't talked with him yet about this directly. I'll be totally honest there. I want to get his view on this directly, but to be totally honest, like we put out this range token thing, and independently of him putting out news of him doing the strategic sale. If anything, if you want my view of what Mackie's reservations are, is I'm sure at some level he just wants to. He's already talked to a bunch of investors about the strategic sale at a discount, and I bet he wishes that the community just said okay and he could go ahead and do it. If you want my honest opinion, just to make it be like less work for him. So on one hand, I think his biggest reservation is just going to be like, well, this is more work for me to do. You know, that's really it. And so if you want to know what I think our job should be, is to make it like less work for him. Just get his community and get people excited about it, and give him honestly an easier, better alternative to just selling at a discount. I think that's kind of the goal.
It's a really good answer.
Okay, sure. All right, thanks.
I'm glad you said that, man. Because listen, I'm a sushi holder. This is important. Like this stuff is important to me, and it should be important to everybody here. If you're a holder of any of these governance tokens, were so. Anyway, thank you. I appreciate you kind of breaking that down and explaining it and telling it like it is, because people need to know like what's going on behind the scenes and how we can, how we can best get our message out. And I agree, if we can get the community talking about this, it does make things, it changes things. And people need to understand what's going on here. So I thank you. I appreciate that. I'm not as well spoken as you, otherwise I'd have said the same thing.
So you're very well spoken, man. Come on. I would also just say I really do think the focus with sushi, it's like we should listen to them, right? We shouldn't be pitching them. We should just be listening and engaging with their community about like, hey, what are you guys trying to do here? Because we are well positioned to invent like a better way of doing it. I'll also preview with you guys. We've got this whole other idea that we're going to write another blog post on called success tokens, or that's what we're tentatively calling it. Which is like yet another way that's kind of in the space that we think is a better idea than just directly selling tokens. So the point is like we're just well positioned to come up with solutions to help DAOs raise money or diversify their treasury that are smarter than just like token sales at a discount. And we just should engage communities and get them talking and, get them excited. Yeah.
I think really good conversation. I'd throw out kind of an asker, maybe a thought to the group. I know I've started to learn a ton, Hart, from when you came and spoke about when we announced the range token, when Chandler spoke to 88 MPH on the community call. You touched on the education piece, and I think if you gauge like general knowledge amongst the SuperUMANs, I'd say you're probably much higher, or we're much higher. I would have a higher understanding of call options or KPI options compared to the range tokens, both because I think they're newer and have some intricacies that maybe don't align as easily to the other ones. I think there's a need probably as we move forward here to focus some on our own internal education, right? So we can represent that well and speak to the level of detail needed, particularly with a group like Sushi, where it's mature, large DAO with lots of critical thought put into some of these things. So I don't know the direct answer to that. I think there's one to read some of the articles and things, but I think it's another level of detail when we have some of these conversations. So throwing that out there, I guess it seems critically important as we move forward.
So EA Sports, I was thinking that why don't we distribute the articles amongst ourselves, and then we formulate some kind of internal group sessions, taking account of time zones, and we come together and do, so basically problem-based learning is what we call it, and we can apply it here. We can all read the same articles, come together and teach ourselves. So anything that anyone in the group doesn't understand, we fill in the gaps. And then if we're all stuck on it as a collectively as a group of superhumans, we can then approach the team because they're going to have a lot of time restrictions on what they can and can't do. That's what I think anyway. What I would like to see from the teams. Yeah, go on. Sorry, I'm interrupting. Go on.
Oh, I've never cut you off. I love that idea, Momo. My one question is if there's enough detail in some of the articles. A lot of the things I've read are a little more. They start off as kind of an overview of the concept without getting into some of the detail, and maybe we can fill in the gaps as the community, and maybe we just try it as a starting point and see what questions we come up with.
So yeah, so the first bit, what I was thinking was we fill in the gaps for the superhumans, like as in like we establish what our level of knowledge is amongst ourselves. So that means all of us going away, having some homework and reading the articles that have been published to date. So everyone's on the same page. And then after that, I'll know whether the points whether you raise on certain things requiring more details, I'll be able to chime in, or other people in the group will be able to, and then we can move it and escalate it to the team members. What I was going to say was it would be really cool if Hart or anyone else from the UMA team meets up with the sushi team and they have just a general discussion about the range tokens, and they're discussing why it's great for the sushi team to implement, and the two communities can join it and listen to it all, followed by Q&A session. But that'll require a lot of bandwidth and organization skills. So that's just a suggestion. I was thinking that was pretty cool as well.
No, Momo,
Yeah.
that'd be a great thing if we can line that up. I think it'd be great to try to do like a panel or like Clubhouse or Discord stages or Twitter Spaces or whatever with some people from the sushi team or anybody interested in this. That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, or we could go back to go back to EA Sports idea around arranging some community call inside their Discord, like we did the first time. You know, we did a call in their Discord. So any variety of those things is awesome, and I really do like that point overall about just needing that education and understanding. You know, however we get it in. Yeah, guys, we are like 6 minutes over. I do want to try to keep these tight for everyone's sake. But any burning desire to share, I will invite.
I just wanted to say real quick that that's what I was talking
real
about.
quick. I think we just need to consider maybe like incentivizing the sushi community to get involved in this somehow. Maybe if we can think of a way to do that, like Bari did with the quiz or something like that. Maybe if we can give out some UDAO tokens. I think if we can incentivize the community to get more involved, we might have a better chance at getting more involvement. That's all I got. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. I'm sorry for running over.
No, you're awesome. And Deadcoin, how about you? That's a good.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that that's what I was bringing up about the university, like taking that options class if we could find one. Because I honestly I don't really understand the range tokens 100% as I do a KPI. KPI I could run through it all day, but the range tokens are a little bit difficult. And like EA said, they're missing some points that I can't understand. And I think it would be great if we could get together as a group somehow and go over the range tokens. That way we know 100%. You're walking in there confident. If you talk to anybody about the range tokens, I'd like to be more confident about it and understand it a little bit better. I'm just having a hard time, getting it down. I've read all the articles, every single one of them, and I still am, not 100% confident in talking about them. So it'd be great, I think, if we could do some kind of education somehow where we all can get together and learn a little bit more and have it explained to us a little bit differently so we can understand it as better as a community and as a whole. That's all.
Agreed. I think we'll make that happen.
Yeah, we should actually probably just do another call on the whole structure too. And like, I just, again, we got to wrap this up, like Clayton said, but I'd also add, guys, there is good feedback here too, where it's possible the idea is actually a little bit too complex, right? It's possible that or just, I don't know. Well, these is all good feedback, right?
Yeah.
then again, Uniswap and the concept of an AMM is actually really complex, and then people figure out a way to grok it. So we'll see.
All right, guys. Really awesome call. Yeah, thanks everyone for your participation. Good ideas. Covered a lot of ground. And yeah, look forward to really getting some action this week in particular. Like let's in the lair start chatting about in the campaigns channel, chatting about how to move these things along. And also just as a one final comment, I just read through the ongoing campaigns. There's actually a lot of things going on right now that I didn't have time to acknowledge. That is already in the works. So I'm feeling optimistic, feeling positive, and yeah, thanks everyone again. See you all next week, and see you in Discord. Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
EA, are you able? Oh, he's gone.